What is happening, guys? We're back. We're doing a little pre-race show going to Leogang, the third round of the Downhill World Cup Series. Now, this is held in Austria. Now, this has become a pretty famous track now. It's one of those tracks where time's always super tight. The track is super fast. It's got a little bit of everything. The top's a lot of bike park turns, the middle's a lot of jumps, and then the race is really decided in the bottom half of the track. It gets a bit more kind of loamy. It's turning more into a bike park. Every year we go there, they obviously race it, they make a new track, and then you go back and it gets ridden again and again and again. Turns into more of a bike park. But going off the forecast, this is actually interesting. Every year I raced there, it was kind of like clockwork. It would be sunny on track walk day. It would rain the first day of practice. It would be a little bit wet still on qualifying day. And then on finals day, it'd be pretty much perfect. Now, I always hated that it would rain the first day. And then one year it didn't, and the track was actually super skatey and super loose, and actually probably more sketchy because there was no ruts that formed. All the dirt was like real gravelly and kind of loose on top. So it's one of those tracks where the rain actually did make it a lot better. It just kind of sucks dealing with mud and rain for the first day and kind of trying to pick up speed and find your lines. But once you got that sorted and kind of figured that out, then it was actually pretty good after that. So I think that's what's going to happen again. And it's going to be interesting. It makes for good viewing when it is wet, especially on the bottom there where it's a lot tighter and there's actually some line choice. But normally it kind of falls into two lines and then you just got to go hell for leather on those two lines, kind of insides or outsides. But besides that, it's all pretty much a one line track. It's pretty chilled. It's pretty easy. There's nothing too hard on it, but it does probably test you the most with just how fast you have to go from the get-go and how easy it is to go fast from the get-go. So it's going to be an interesting race. Junior women, the woman that keeps dominating is Heather Wilson, who's won the first two World Cups. Now, I think she's just going to keep that role. It was closer at the last World Cup, but I think she's just going to keep her form. And yeah, just keep dominating. The Scottish girl seems to be doing super well at the moment. So I reckon she's just got that role and that confidence. So it's going to go, it's going to keep flowing on. But in the junior men, obviously Asa Vermette got another win. And it just seems like he's just in that role. He's in that flow and everything's working quite well. He actually went back to America and won the pro men race back home. So he's kicking it with the big guys. I think his time might have been, I don't know if it was top 10. I have to check, but he had a time that was maybe top 10 or around the top 15 in elite men. So he's fast. He's fast just all over the place, not just in America, but also in Europe. And he's obviously gotten in good flow already. So I think he's going to be a tough guy to beat pretty much at every race. In the women's field, I'm actually super interested with the women's field because it seems like this year everyone seems to be healthy and everyone seems to be kind of on their game, and it's stacked. It's stacked from start to finish. There's a lot of top girls in there at the moment that are just consistently there, and it looks like it's going to chop and change a little bit. Obviously, Marin got the win last weekend, which is cool to see. She kind of had a bit of struggles the last few years, so to see her finally back on the top step is cool, and that's obviously going to build her confidence going forward. Valley had a big crash right at the top, which could dent her confidence, but I know going into Austria where she's done so well in the past, I think she won for like 4 seconds last year, so home race, she always does well there. She always is fast. She just had some issues with crashing in the past, but she's definitely going to be hard to beat. I think Tani's going to do really well at this round. I've got a feeling that Tani's just going to be on form. Jess Blewett's coming off a good result. Nina is unfortunately out. She dislocated a shoulder at the last. It wasn't the last round, just after the race. Apparently the next day she was riding and dislocated a shoulder, so she's going to be out of this race. But I think Tani's going to be probably the danger woman. I think if I had to have a pick, I'd probably put Valley, Tani, Marin for the top three. I think they're going to be the girls that are going to lay it down. So it's going to be interesting. But like I said, super stacked field this year. Like it's from 1st to 10th. There's a lot of girls in there that can mix it up every weekend. The men, I think it's going to be super interesting to see if Ronan can back it up again. He obviously just won Hardline. He won that World Cup. And sometimes with guys like that, when you get on a roll, when you start to win, you believe that, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do and this is where I'm meant to be. So it's going to be super interesting to see if he can stay consistent with that. Like, even there was a thing he joked about in his race interview after. He's like, I was either going to leave on top or going to go home in a helicopter. So I believe that when he does throw everything at it, but he's obviously found a way to channel that energy and that aggression into actually consistent runs and getting podiums and now wins. So he's a guy that it's going to be interesting to see if he can back it up or whether he does have a feel like he's got more pressure now. He did get the win and more eyes are going to be on him. So that's going to be super interesting to see where he ends up. But I'm sure that he should be thereabouts. But I think the danger man this weekend is going to be, I kind of got two. I think Andreas is going to, he built well at the last round and he's kind of getting that speed and confidence back and obviously home race again. So he won last year. So I think that's going to be playing on his mind coming in. And I just got a feeling that he's kind of picking up his groove, getting in a good flow. And I think he'll do really well. I've actually got him on my fantasy team, but you can't look past like Luke Bruni. He's so far obviously won round one, got second by nothing at round two. When he's on. So I think that's going to be the man to try and beat every year. He's got the experience. He's got the level head to be in these situations where World Cup titles are on the line and he can always deliver. So it's one of those guys when you put him up against a wall or put him under this pressure where someone else is coming up, he always seems to find his way. So it's going to be interesting with him. I think Finn Isles as well. I think he's going to be right there in the mix. He's obviously got the speed week in, week out, and I think there's something there that I think he just needs to click and then he'll be back fighting for those wins and podiums. But him, Benoit Coulange, I think he's going to come out absolutely swinging. I reckon he's a real threat for a win at Leogang. He's qualified first there in the past and been up at all splits before crashing at the bottom. So he knows that he can win there. I think especially if it's going to be a little bit wet, a little bit greasy, I reckon Benoit is probably going to be the best bet if it's kind of a somewhat muddy, wet race. We got Amaury Piron coming back. He got a podium, which is crazy to think he does the first race and just does somewhat all right and then comes back and gets straight back on the podium and kind of where he left off before these big injuries. So hats off to him to miss an entire year of World Cup racing, come back and then just be back on the box after 2 races. So yeah, hats off to that. I think that's pretty insane to just go through that amount of distance from racing and obviously recovery and injury and everything that comes along with it. And then to come back and just mentally be that strong that you're right back on the podium again. Another guy that I think is riding really well at the moment that should do well is Luca Shaw is going to be strong all year, I reckon. He obviously did well at the first World Cup and then I'm not sure exactly what happened at Poland, but he has qualified first at Leogang before back in 2018, I believe, and he was actually up on Amaury Piron's time before crashing near the bottom. So he's a guy that has done well here before. I think he's got a bit of confidence. He's one of those riders, you'll see him on like the motorway where you've got to pump a lot and stay low, and he's just got such good bike skill where he can generate speed and tuck in, and I think it's a lot of track. Like the motorway on this is a lot of track and there's not that many places to separate time. So somewhere where you've got a lot of track that you can make up half a second on, it can be so pivotal in this race. So I think that's going to be him. And then it's pretty funny, him and Troy Brosnan are both people that can just generate speed out of nothing. And I think on this track, there's a lot of little points where you want to be able to try to build speed. So I think those two guys should be really strong in the race, but also just strong on that motorway. And even the top section, I think they're going to be flying. Also, the guy that qualified first at the last round in Poland, Dakota Norton, he's obviously got a lot of speed at the moment. He's confident, he's building, and he's someone that has done well at Leogang as well. So I think it's a matter of time before Dak wins a World Cup as well. Obviously, Ronan, like I said, it was funny, but I might even link the video, but I was talking about the riders this year that I'm really excited to see was the Mondraker guys, which was Dak, Ryan Pinkerton, and obviously Ronan, and obviously the Frameworks guys with Asa Vermette, Nico, and Angel Suarez. So I think those two guys, like I said, those two guys are going to be standouts, and obviously so far they both have. So I think they're going to continue doing that and building on that. But there's just so many good riders at the moment. Even like the Syndicate guys had a bit of trouble with crashing and just little things. So I think Laurie and Ollie, I feel like they could be on for a good one. I know Laurie's got so much in the tank that he needs to get out. just had a bit of bad luck. Same with Ollie getting a flat and crashing at the last one. So the field is so stacked at the moment, just even thinking about all the riders. And then you got people like Reece Wilson, who's kind of coming back to form and building some confidence, and he's obviously got the rainbow stripes here back in 2020. So I think if it's wet, he should be able to get his shit together and get some good results. But even like the Colombian guys are coming through as well. It's epic to see the people building into this kind of new generation of riders. Even like Lockie Stevens-McNabb was fastest at the third split in Poland, and then obviously had a big crash. But I think without that crash, he probably could have won that World Cup. And it's crazy to think of this kid from New Zealand who has kind of struggled with injuries and not been there, can come out at a race and just almost win it. And to see that, you go, okay, there's like a changing of the guard kind of time, and these new kids are coming in and they want it so badly. And it's so hard to beat athletes when you want it that badly, and you're also having so much fun as you want it. So I think Lockie, he's in my fantasy league as well. I think he'll do super well. Actually, I might get my fantasy league up, and it'd be interesting to see if you guys want to comment who you think is going to be in for the hunt this weekend, or even who your fantasy league is, and go from there. Because I was going to say, I actually really like, when I've been looking through the comments, I think it's cool to have kind of like a community of people that have been commenting and kind of getting their opinion out there. I think this is a cool platform to do it. I think it's cool to see people go through and actually talk about what's happening in the World Cups. I notice now, as being someone that has stepped out of them, there's not that much coverage. There's not that much people that talk about it. There's actually not that much that you see from a race. Like being on the other side of the world and realizing that you don't actually get that much. And I can see why vlogs like from Bernard, even when I was doing the stuff Toadian with Eddie Masters and Jack and all that, it's like, oh, you guys are actually not getting that much information or that much content from these events. So to build something or have something like this where you guys can openly chat about what's going on, I think is really cool. So my team is Andreas Kobe, Reece Wilson, Luke Meyer-Smith, which I think he's just waiting for a good result. He almost needs to chill a bit. I feel like he goes all out all the time, him and his brother Remy, and they toned it back a little bit, got some consistent results, and then maybe turned that dial up a little bit. But that's just not how they ride. They go all or nothing. But I think he's on for a good one soon. Lockie Stevens-McNabb, Grace Hemstreet, and Anna Newkirk are my team for Leogang. So let me know what your team is, and let me know who you think is going to be the guy to take the win. I think if I had to put a top 3 out there, or even top 5, I'm going to say Loic, Benoit, Troy, Ronan, Loris. I reckon. I think that's going to be... Oh, actually, no. I put Andreas, so Andreas is going to be in there. Loic, Benoit, Andreas, Troy, Loris. There we go. There's my team. But I think, yeah, Lockie Stevens-McNabb is going to be in the top 10. Reece Wilson's going to be floating around there somewhere. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I was going to say, sing out to me and let me know, who you think is going to do well and what you guys kind of think of Leogang. It doesn't seem like it changes much at the moment with what they've done. It kind of just, it's those hard things. You get a track that they run for so many years and you kind of can't go that many different places. So you just get this hard packed bike park track, which it's kind of cool because all the racing is so tight and the times are tight. It does build hype, but it's kind of just dangerous because you just bomb in one line, hell for leather, and it just gets sketchy and risky. So yeah, I feel for the riders that have to kind of risk their life on this one skinny line, but tis what it is, and we are all professionals, so you do get it done. But yeah, interesting to hear what you guys think, and much love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.